Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy Lax, and today we are covering the World Cup of Pokemon qualifiers yet again. And today we have probably the most insane format I've ever seen in a Pokemon tournament of all time. And it looks crazy, right? Like as you see all these matches right here, it looks pretty crazy. But we're gonna break it down by first going over the results of the qualifying stage. All right, so here we have the qualifying stage and how it ended. So I don't believe this is completely updated, but what we do know is that Portugal is the only team that is directly advancing into World Cup of Pokemon main stage. 14-6, defying every expectations, led by Cowboy Octopus and Lilo and Street Boom and all the actually Ulti New, but they got a bunch of 2-0s, including Bagana 13. So a lot of really strong performance out of them. Congratulations to them. It takes a lot to get through this hell of a qualifier stage. Like, look how many strong teams there are, and a lot of strong teams that didn't make it, like Spain. But what we are here to talk about today is we are going to do predictions on the tiebreak stage. So this document is a little messed up if you look at it, but I'm pretty sure UK got an activity win, so their record should also reflect 12-8, which means that they are tied with 4 other teams: Argentina, Asia, Mexico, and Netherlands. And how this works is that each of these teams has to fight against each other in a round robin. And it doesn't even directly advance some of the teams. I think only the best team, like the highest record, aka 4-0 or 3-1 record in this round robin, is able to advance towards the main stage. And then the rest are just seeded to fight each other to qualify for the main stage in the next week. So it's a pretty complicated format, but we're going to break it down, make sure it's easy for you to understand. So here we have it. This is how the teams ended up choosing their players. And if you notice right off the bat, there are 2 teams that are putting all their bread in a basket. Is that a saying? I don't know. But they're putting all of their hope onto one single player. UK has selected ZavGB, aka Stresh, to fight against every other qualifying team. And Mexico has selected Duco, a very new player, in order to fight against everybody else. So what we're going to be doing here is I'm going to give a little introduction on every single player on this list, just to familiarize you guys with who they are and their history on the site perhaps, and then we're going to run into predictions right after that. Looking at it like this, you have all of Argentina's games. They're relying on 2 different players, ACR1 and Just Franco. If you look at Asia, they're relying on 4 different players. They got 1 new player for each slot, which means, you know, one person can just focus on their own A game. They don't need to worry about anything else except winning their one single game, which, you know, is a very valid strategy. Argentina obviously putting their eggs in the basket. Is that even, I don't know what I'm saying, but putting their 2 best players into their roles. Mexico choosing to put in this new player, new talent, Duco, who is currently 2-0, into every single slot. And then Netherlands is deciding on 2 different, or I guess 3 different players. They got Drud, mainly a lower tier player, and then Axel, a fresh talent SVOU player who's recently broken into the scene, and then OJR, a kind of older player. And then UK, the star of the show. People expected them to breeze through qualifiers, but here they are, tie-breaking for even a chance to stay in qualifiers. But luckily for them, they do have ZavGB, one of the highest rated players on SVOU in the entire site. So without further ado, let's break into the players. So obviously, you all know ZavGB, one of the most consistent SVU players on the site, recently won finals of official ladder tournament. Super strong showing there, really looking to carry UK, and obviously, as we've mentioned, they're putting all of their hope into this one single player to beat all. But I have heard a lot of drama around this tiebreak format. People are complaining about this format of like sending one guy in to round robin because of ZavGB specifically. Like, teams are shitting their pants at the idea of having to send in their best player to play against one of the best SVOU minds currently on the site. So he's definitely the one to look out for, and also to steal teams for. Make sure to keep an eye out for that as well. Next we have Just Franco, originally a UU player. I think really broke out in SVUU, has done great numbers there in UUPLs, in SCL, Smogon Champions League, and also had a pretty solid SPL showing, Smogon Premier League, in Black and White OU, surprisingly. So, you know, Franco is kind of a jack of all trades, and whoa, what the hell is that Hydrabble Sprite, first of all? Second of all, In this tournament, they are currently 2-0, having defeated both of their opponents in a pretty dominant fashion. So Argentina is clearly thinking that this is their best player, and I think I have to agree that he is one of their best players because, I mean, the teams he's looking belly bull and wait, look at the screen tell team. First of all, that team is crazy. Second of all, like this guy is just he plays so much Pokemon, and you know I say that people might say that as an insult, but the truth of the matter is he's just really good, and he's been grinding a lot in the past few years and really trying to prove that he is one of the best players on site, making Slam playoffs, making OT playoffs, or at least Swiss stage. Like those are not easy feats to do as a relatively newer player in the scene. So it's really impressive to be able to be selected for a tiebreak of this scale as well. Next up, for one of Asia's players, they have Kaneki-san, who is currently 1-1 in the qualifying stage. Lost a pretty tough round 1 to this Terra ground bolt. Apparently he misclicked on, I believe it was, oh, Jesus Christ. Apparently there was a misclick involved here. Instead of EQing for the 2-hit KO versus Raging Bolt, apparently they were being distracted by someone in the room, so they didn't realize that Petron was at 1 HP and thought they needed to Dragon Dance again in order to get the guaranteed kill. Otherwise, this would have definitely been a victory for Kaneki, barring a crit, of course, on Draco Meteor. EQ twice, finish off the patch, should be a win. Their other game, they managed to get a Dragonite sweep with Fire Punch Scale Shot. Very cool set, and it just cleanly knocked out an Iron Valley. Oh my god, guys. Why is the sound coming on? Cleanly knocks out a Great Tusk. Does require 5 hits, but I think at this point, the game is pretty done to Wogerpon. But yeah, and then Fire Punch comes in and knocks out Iron Valley, which is actually a little surprising to me. I thought Iron Valley's natural bulk would be able to live a weak move like Fire Punch. But this is a player that I've been highly rated of because I've seen them play in OLT. I don't think they've actually ever qualified for OLT Swiss, but I know that watching their games, I'm like, you know, this guy knows what he's doing. I think in a few years, in a couple years, and even this year, like they could really stand out in the player pool and really show themselves off. Next up, we have a player from the Netherlands, Axel, who recently broke into the scene by surprising everybody and winning the first week of Smog Tour's SVOU. Which is super impressive because this is probably like the first day, first week. This is probably the tournament that most people on the site join. Like it's probably the biggest version of S-Tour there is. And he defeated some notable names like Attribute particularly and Genius X. And winning the whole S-Tour is, you know, quite impressive. If you couple that with this specific showing, if you guys remember, it is the Mental Herb Rabambi. So clearly got the text, clearly got the Shiest. And yeah, very excited to see how they do in tiebreak. I believe they are the only player in Netherlands to be featured twice in the tiebreak. But let me check that to make sure. Yeah, they're versus ZabGB and versus Pikel for the rematch. So that'll be very exciting as well. Now let's talk about the player that everybody is super hyped for. Duco, formerly Pokefan apparently. And I said new player. I meant new talent because joined in 2016, that doesn't matter. They only got 11 messages, which means that they really haven't been focused on Smogon as like a priority at all, which is fine. So this might be one of the first ever tournaments actually playing. They might have been on ladder, casually playing, got recruited for Team Mexico, and here we are. I'm not sure their full story, but I do know this player is actually quite impressive. I'll be showing snippets of their games, and oh my god, guys, what the hell is this? I'm learning all the new sprites just now apparently, but look at this King Gambit sprite. What is bro doing? Looks a little silly, but they're using a pretty standard Samurott Petron team with Landorus. This has been used quite a few times. This time it does have a Darkrai though over a King Gambit, which is interesting, but I just wanted to showcase a couple turns that they had that made me think, okay, this player clearly knows what they're doing and clearly has a lot of potential to show who they are. So if you look at the game state, pretty crazy game. It's just Zamazenta and Latios versus King Gambit and Tornadus. So this is a really nice play in my opinion. So sack the Samurott, get the damage off. I actually probably would have liked to see hard Zamazenta there and then maybe Samurott bring in Always Live the Sucker Punch, just have to connect to Razor Shell. But I like the way this plays out as well. Brings in Latios. So on Batty's side, this is a really tricky endgame for Batty because You need this Latios to be low HP so Tornadus can knock it out with the move, and then Zamazenta can come in and finish off the Torn. But the way it plays out is that Duko knows that Sucker Punch is coming out, clicks Terra, clicks Calm Mind actually. So by clicking Calm Mind, they ensure that King Gambit doesn't heal out of Draco Meteor range, which is a really big deal because Baddie is just going for the chip to win with Terra Torn versus Zamazenta somehow. But knows that the Sucker Punch is coming out, and knows that Calm Mind puts them out of range of a minus or plus 0 Draco not knocking out King Gambit. So then Tornadus comes in, dies the Draco, Gambit comes in and dies the Draco as well. So what this play shows is that if you just sucker without tearing, Torn can come in, knock out Latios, and then it's a 50-50 plus connecting Bleakwind Storm versus Zamazenta for the game. Like Torn comes in at about 44, which means that it lives close combat from boot Zamazenta. Zama has to choose to Ice Fang or Stone Edge, but Torn still has a Terra. Presumably it's a Terra Fairy, right? Or Terra Steel or something like that on Assault Fist Torn. So Duko eliminates this completely by clicking Calm Mind here. And what it does is King Gambit is no longer leftovers into range of Draco Meteor. So the chip never happens, and it also gets the knockout here. Very cool play to secure the game there. And then in this game, this was also a really cool play from Duko. I don't want to go over this very long game, but what happens is this Cursed Garg with Terra Water kind of 6-0s the team. And it's kind of a major threat. So what happens is Duko brings in his Latios because he really needs chip versus this Garg. Trades the Draco Meteor for this Salt Cure. And here is the game-winning play. So, in One Last Kiss's mind is, I need Garg to win the game. I need to defog with my Wheezing, recover Garg versus Slowking or something like that, win the game in that way. But Duko recognizes that, makes a double to low kicks onto the Blissey, preventing this from ever happening, because now you get a free, U-turn into Slowking, you get a free Chili back into Latios, and now Latios cleans up house. Yeah, and then you see the end game is just won by Latios in the long term. But look at the Garg HP. It's prevented from ever healing back up because of the play that he made. Because, if you go back to that turn, which, oh my god, I think it was like 89 or something. If you go back to this turn, if One Last Kiss clicks recover on this double out into low kicks, the game is just over. There's no way for Garg to not just recover up and sweep the entire team because, it's not Whirlwind Scarm. Slowking not touching it. Draco, you're taking Salt Cure from a attack boosted Garg. Like, the game is just over if recovers click there. But recognizing that Blissey has to come in and Wheezing needs to fog is the way that Duko brings momentum back, able to heal up the Latios for free, and then win with it in the end game, which I think is really cool. So, very high player. Will be very interesting to see what their record is at the end of this round robin. Next player to highlight is ACR1, who is currently 1-1 in World Cup of qualifiers. They are most notably known for going 5-1 in SPL as a rookie, first ever tournament, followed by a 7-2 record in SCL. So that is a combined 13-3 or 12-3. Wow, I'm totally off. But that is a combined 12-3 in 2 tournaments in SVOU. Average of 6 wins, average of 1.5 losses. Very impressive stuff. Super highly rated coming to this current SPL, the one that just happened, but had a pretty bad record there. But it happens, just a blip on the radar. Let's see if they can clutch in for Argentina. Next up on the list, we have this player from Asia, Superior, who is currently 2-0, which is quite impressive. Asia is the team that is splitting everything up, but it's not unreasonable to put your 2-0 player in multiple slots. So it's interesting that they decided to kind of let everybody else have a chance, even though they might not have the greatest records. That being said, I've been a really big fan of the team Superior has been bringing. They've been bringing some pretty crazy stuff. Look at this. Life Orb Samra, Spike Urban Trout. Shout out to BCS, one of the greatest shows of all time. And Volt Switch Iron Treads. And then you look at this knockoff Trailblaze, Swords Dance, Ogre Pawn, Leftover Earthquake, Encore Dragonite. Like, this guy came in swinging. He brought all the text, and they clearly seemed to work. If seeing as they broke through a stall team, and then they also brought. Oh my God, King Gab, you gotta stop jump scaring me like this. Like, what is going on with the sprite? But really cool team. AV Aloe, shout out to one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, with Sun to get the free momentum into stuff like Walking Wake, into stuff like Venusaur, Great Tusk, and even your own Gambit. Very cool teams. Very excited to see what they do in this tournament. Next up, we have OJR, another player for Team Asia, or no, Team Netherlands, who is currently 1-1. We actually covered one of their games on the website on this tournament. I believe they were facing against a low kick Sun, which I thought was really cool. And then they lost that game, but they won this game using webs, which, I don't know, looks like a pretty free matchup into webs, but yeah, they clearly have a lot of trust in OJR, and I know OJR personally as like one of Empo's friends and one of his students. I associate those two heavily, so maybe there's a lot of faith in that regard for OJR to come through with the clutch. Next up, we have JJ09 Lee for Team Asia, one of their 4 slots, and JJ is most known for being extremely consistent in SVOU. As you can see by these records, 21-13 with a 62% win rate, that's pretty good. And also, if you can see, they are 14-8 in SPL overall, 2-1 in World Cup overall, and 5-4 in Snake overall. So in every single tournament that they've played, I believe around 4 or 5 so far, I think 4, JJ09 Lee has gone positive in every single tournament, which is a very strong level of consistency being demonstrated. For the next player, we have Drud from the Netherlands, and they are primarily known as an old gen lower tier player. You may have seen them around in all the UUPLs, RUPLs, NUPLs, PUPLs, all that jazz. But in this tournament, they have really stepped up and shown themselves to be a competent modern gen player as well. Just some highlights. Dominant victory in UU. Like, do you see all these hazards up? And then do you see the HP bars of all of Drud's guys? 100% Dirge, Healthy Claude, Healthy Scarm, obviously Toxapex, which never dies. Just a dominant victory here. And then the next game, pretty similar. Looks like a very dominant victory versus some kind of offense. And yeah, it's just pretty impressive stuff going 2-0 in qualifiers. It really gives a lot of faith in your team in order to be picked for a qualifying tiebreak just like this, despite it not being your main tier. It just shows that even though you're not an OU mainer, you're still one of the best players on the team, and teams like to put in their best players over mainers. And finally, the last player we have to talk about is Pikel Sweet For You, who is actually 0-2 in this tournament. But the fact that they're still being picked, he's still being picked for this tiebreak, really says a lot about the team's confidence in him. And I mean, you saw McMegan get picked 0-2 versus Badummy in SPL tiebreak and then utterly destroy him, right? So it's not the end all be all just based on records. Records are just meant to give a bigger picture of the story of behind the player. That being said, Pikel is most known for going 7-4 in this past Smogon Champions League in SVOU, with some really cool sets, honestly. Really cool teams, really diverse stuff going on there. Really strong as a builder, but you know, sometimes I feel like this person can overcook. And I feel like in a tiebreak situation, you're either bringing out the guns, like you're bringing your best techs, most cool teams ever, or you're sticking to your strong suit, just bringing a very normal team, which I think if Pikel does bring a pretty basic normal team, then I think that's probably the best shot at winning. All right, we have finally gone over every single player on this list. So now we can jump right into predictions. So first game is an absolute banger. We have ZavGB versus Just Franco. I mean, I think it's really hard to not bold again or bold for Zav in any of these games. Like, I would assume right off the bat, Zav will beat Kaneki, Zav will beat Axel, just based on his history as a player and his prowess. But I will say, I think he'll also beat these guys as well. I think all these games are definitely favored for Stresh. But I will say Just Franco and Duco, I think, have the strongest upset potential in it. And also, I'm just realizing, I don't know why I bolded the whole thing. That doesn't really make sense. I'm going to bold Zav, which is not a crazy thing to do at all. Not a wild predict going out of bounds, but I think Zav is really primed to carry UK into the main event off rip. No need to go to the qualifying stage of round 2. Just straight up qualifies them for second seed of qualifiers into the main event. That being said, I think this is probably my highlight game of the whole thing. I think Just Franco is a phenomenal player, and if he's well equipped to bringing a good team, then there's a good chance, or not even a good chance, but like a decent chance that he's able to upset Zav GB and maybe bring it back. Duco is another player I think that also has a chance. Just riding this momentum wave of being that guy, selected to play every single game for Team Mexico is such a big deal. It really helps the confidence. And if Duco's first game is into Zav, it could turn out 2 ways, okay? So Duco loses to Zav, and the confidence, the momentum crumbles and, kind of spirals out of control. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I think Duco's the people's champ right now. It'd be really cool if they won. But if Duco plays against Zav first and wins, Duco is going to be the 4-0 easily of this pool, because being a player like Zav, being chosen as the main guy for Team Mexico when you have players like Ray Scarface on your bench for tiebreak, it's such a big deal, and I'm really excited to see what Duco can bring. Honestly, it might seem like I'm writing off players like Kaneki-san and X who have clearly shown competency and a strong level of SVOU, but Zav and AK Stress is just that guy right now. And I think it's really hard to predict against him because he's actually like the only player here, at least in his pool of 4, that is a guaranteed buy in SVOU, SPL, and SCL. Franco might be as well. Duco might be in the future, but it's just too difficult to not go with Zav. Alright, so we just ran through the first 1 versus 4 gauntlet. Now we're going to go into the next one, aka Duco. We already covered the game versus Zav. A lot of upset potential, but I think this will be the game to look out for. Next up, we have Duco versus ACR1, Duco versus Superior, and Duco versus OGR. Duco versus ACR1 is a tough one. ACR1's history in the tier is just too good, I think. I think his level of play and the peaks he's reached is higher than every other player except for Zav, in my opinion. So I think I'm actually going to have to go for ACR1. But this is a really, really close game. Really hype game. Like, if Duco is able to make good games versus both Zav and ACR1, this guy will be drafted for the next SEO. He will be drafted for the next SPL. Because those are very important, because this is a test versus some of the strongest players available in the qualifiers pool. And also players that would get picked up in SPL as well. So this would really show Duco's level. If the 2-0 is like more of a fluke or more of a new player thing rather than being the next up-and-comer god. That being said, I think I will be bolding them versus Superior. I really like Superior's teams. I'll be honest, I like Superior's teams a lot more than Duco's teams. But I think the level of play shown in the difference between the games and the hype surrounding Duco is a bit more than the Superior person. That being said, I do really like their teams. I keep saying that because it's true, and I'm very excited to see what they bring in this qualifying tiebreak. This is another banger to me, and I will definitely. Next up, Duco versus OJR. I don't think OJR has shown enough to go against the hype wave of the Duco train, so I'm gonna have to go for Duco. But Empo's protege, etc. Didn't have really cool teams to bring in the qualifying from OGR's side, and did bring webs, so maybe we gotta knock that down a peg. But who knows? Anything can happen in these tie breaks, right? Like, I'm just predicting based off vibe completely. I have no idea what's actually gonna happen. It's Pokemon. Zav might not go 4-0. Duco might beat all these SPL players. Who knows? But right now we'll predict Duco to go 2-0. And we'll move on from there. ACR1 versus JJ09 Lee. I think JJ is one of the most consistent players of all time in SVOU. Like, going positive every tournament. Only a few players have ever done that. So I'm going to go give it to JJ. This is a really close game, though. This is 2 SPO player levels. I just realized I said Zav is like the only SPL player here. But there's actually quite a few. So we'll see how that goes. I think JJ is a really smart player, though. Asia, I think, is doing maybe the best strategy, potentially, splitting up the resources, seeing how that goes, being able to let each player focus on their own game, I think could be really big for them, but we'll see. Next, we have Just Franco versus Drud. I think Franco, as a player, has a very high ceiling based off their showings in UU. And this is a UU player face-off, which is kind of interesting, but I think I'll definitely have to lean it. I just think his experience in official tournaments is going to overshadow Drud's experience in lower tier tournaments. It's just going to be like a vibe pick. Like, I just think Franco is just better because I've seen more of him at a higher level, and I know of his consistency at a higher level. Last game, Pikel sweep for you versus Axel. I am going to go ahead and predict Pikel to win because Pikel's really strong showings in SVOU, despite being 0-2 currently. Sorry, my cat got on my keyboard, messed things up a bit. But yeah, like I said, Axel winning S-Tour is quite impressive, but Pikel's history and experience as a player, like all these predictions are usually come down to, do we know the player we're talking about? What do we know about each player and their experience in official tournaments? And that leads to a lot of bias. So a lot of upset potential can come across players that just haven't really tried even to be in officials before. Like Axel might have only started playing S-Tour recently. I don't know. And me not knowing is why I'm picking Pikel. So these predictions are more just to give an informed opinion on general ideas of how you should expect each player to perform, rather than truly knowing how they're going to end up being. Wow, I am literally predicting Team Netherlands to go 0-4, which I think would be absolutely devastating and probably pretty unlikely to happen in at least 4 games. But I'm predicting UK to sweep out, Asia, Mexico, and Argentina all to tie with each other 2-2, which I don't know if it goes to like head-to-head or something like that, or how that would work in the event of a tie. But we are predicting Netherlands to unfortunately lose out on the qualifiers and not advance to the next stage. But this being said, like, I gotta keep stressing this because I don't want people to see this and be like, oh my god, you're hating, or you're just making up nonsense. These predictions are never gonna be completely accurate. They're just based off perception of each player. Netherlands could pull it out of nowhere and just suddenly, like, Drud can win. Axel, very established player at this point, winning S-Tour and also going 1-1. Like, pretty strong player as well. Like, we have truly zero idea what's going to happen in this qualifier, and that's what I think is so hype about it. And I'm so excited to watch these games because this is such a treat. Being able to watch super high intensity games is going to be so awesome, and I hope you guys are looking forward to it as much as I am. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you soon. We're going to be doing power ranks once all the World Cup rosters are submitted. Look forward to that. Look forward to some high level laddering as well coming soon. And take care. I'll catch you for the next one.